Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I think we can start once again. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone. We are very happy that we have reached this moment in our 56th World Planning Congress, which is the first ever virtual Congress, but also at the same time, it is a kind of breakthrough Congress, which brought a lot of the new developments for not only for our meetings, but also for the entire society. So let me welcome each and every one of the speakers today, of the panelists, of the moderators, as well as the entire audience. We are very happy that we have a large audience today. So let me now introduce my co-general rapporteur, Professor Hope Magidi-Misha from Durban. And let me ask Hope to present the program of the session today, which is the closing plenary. And once again, thank you very much, Hope, for being with us for this entire year. It was a great pleasure. And of course, I'll say thank you at the very end, but I have to say we did together a great job. So Hope, please, the floor is yours. Hope we cannot hear you. You must be muted.
Thank you very much, everyone, for coming here, and thank you very much, Piotr, and welcome to our grand finale, ISOCARP Congress 56. I will then read the program of today, which is a bit lengthy, and we'll start with the welcoming participants. Then the other one will be opening remarks, and the other one will be place leader roundtable, and with the focus on urban green deals. And the fourth item will be Congress summaries and reflections. We'll have another section on the declaration, presentation of the declaration, and we have closing remarks by one of our co-hosts, which is UN Habitat. And the other closing remarks will be delivered by Urban Economy, and we'll also have handing over of the 57th ISOCARP Congress, and of course, closing remarks. Over to you, Piotr.
Thank you so much. So now let me start with the opening statement by Mr. Martin Dubbeling, ISOCARP President. I guess this will be the pre-recorded video, so may I ask to start, please.
Your Excellencies, dear board members, dear members of ISOCARP and dear delegates to the ISOCARP Congress. The journey we started in November 2020 with the 56th ISOCARP World Planning Congress, our first ever fully virtual Congress, has come to an end. We're very proud, grateful and humbled by the outcomes of this Congress. We started on the World Town Planning Day on the 8th of November 2020, and now on the 4th of February 2021, we conclude this Congress themed Post-Oil City, spreading out this virtual Congress over 11 days in November, December, January and February has proven to be a very smart choice. This provided us the flexibility to host 40 sessions with 165 paper presentations for hundreds of Congress delegates. As President of ISOCARP, I must congratulate and praise our staff at both the ISOCARP Secretariat and the Institute Office. It's Anna, Monica, Federico, Cindy, Gisela, and especially our Congress Director, Neana Balamiento, and our energetic Secretary General, Frank Dont, for their flexibility, initiative, support, determination, and endurance. I'm very proud and enormously grateful of the wonderful and resourceful Congress team, chaired by the General Rapporteur Piotr Lorens, who prepared and chaired the parallel and special sessions. The 56th fully virtual Congress could not have taken place without the generous financial support of the host of the next World Planning Congress, the Ministry of Municipality and Environment of Cllr, and the support of the ISOCARP Institute and our co-hosts Urban Economy Forum and Human Habitat. The topic of Post-Oil City has proven to be well chosen, as it reflects the absolute necessity for urban Green Deals for cities and regions. My personal takeaways of the many keynotes and sessions in this Congress is that in these dynamic and confusing times, we all know and more than ever realize that today the majority of cities on every continent have systemic problems and huge challenges. This Congress on post-oil cities made me realize that we have to look at what we can learn from the past and how pre-oil cities and landscapes were shaped and organized well before the availability of cheap oil and cheap gas. Since centuries here in the Netherlands, windmills were and still are essential for milling and grinding the grain, sawing the wood and draining the water out of the polders. Now wind and solar energy are essential for our cities and industries. Like in previous ISOCARP congresses, the papers, presentations, the review, the keynotes and the many discussions gave me the energy and inspiration to do more, to do better, to change the world by contributing on a more healthy, resilient and livable cities, villages and communities in the municipality I work for. I hope and trust that you have the same experience. Allow me to explain why the theme and tracks of this Post-Oil City Congress is so very much important and groundbreaking for myself and for the municipality of Eems-Delta in Groningen, the most northern part of the Netherlands, where I now work. Together with large teams of program managers, developers, cool planners, urban designers and landscape architects, we are rebuilding the cities of Delfzijl, Appingedam, Loppersum and the many villages and settlements in this region. The extraction of natural gas from a huge gas field 3 kilometers below our feet induced thousands of small and very powerful earthquakes that have damaged thousands of houses, schools, cultural buildings and care facilities in this region. Every month, this region is struck by multiple earthquakes. The most recent one was last weekend, just near here where we stand, with a magnitude of 1.9. Here in the inner city of Appingedam, founded in the 12th century, these earthquakes also severely damaged many historic buildings. Reinforcing these monuments and rebuilding thousands of damaged houses and buildings gives us the opportunity to build back a post-oil and a post-gas city. Rebuilding and reinforcing Delfzijl, Appingedam and Loppersum also comes with the challenges to rethink the cities we are rebuilding, shape livable places, plan for urban connectivity, safeguard urban resilience, create a healthy and inclusive urban environment while focusing on heritage, urban metabolism, ensuring economic diversity, as well as water safety and water management and sustainable energy. In these challenges, you recognize the themes and topics of this Congress. In my perception, this also is the upbeat towards the next economy, the next city, the next society, and the next level in sustainability for the cities, villages, and communities in this region and elsewhere in the world. Halfway this 56th Congress, preparations for the 57th already started, and we have even received expressions of interest for the 58th and the 59 Congresses in 2022 and 2023. Today, we will reveal another forward-looking topic for the 57th World Planning Congress, hosted by the Ministry of Municipality and Environment of Qatar, because this is what planners do, looking ahead. Meanwhile, with the newly elected board members and the president-elect on board, we are evaluating the core values and the DNA of ISOCARP. This means that we have to take 2 steps back in order to make 3 steps ahead. For me personally, The essence of ISOCARP is that we are a global network of planners, where planning practitioners from cities and regions meet, with professors and researchers, as well as with designers and consultants. ISOCARP is a community for urbanists and a forum for the academia. It is an active network where youth meets experience, creativity challenges paradigms, and where we promote knowledge for better cities. We do that with and for our members, partner cities and universities, and in support of global organizations. I joined ISOCARP as a member in 2005 at the Congress in Bilbao, and it was one of the very best decisions in my career. Since 2005, Saskia, my lovely wife, architect and urban planner, and I participated in every ISOCARP Congress, and every Congress was very rewarding and very inspiring. This year, we very much missed the personal meetings with our dear friends, the interactions with young and senior colleagues from every corner of the world, and we also missed the hospitality of our hosts and the adventurous excursions and the spontaneous pre- and post-Congress tours. And for sure, I miss this year's Congress badge to add to my collection. Due to, or unless, the pandemic, ISOCARP is steadily and slowly growing. I have high hopes that in the next year we can grow from around 700 to 1,000 members. The more members we have, and the longer they stay active and engaged members, the more we will be in the position to promote city and regional planning and to support the city and regional planners in their career. For me personally, the welcoming and open ISOCARP network has proven to be very beneficiary and rewarding in many aspects. And I wish that all members will be able to benefit from our congresses, workshops, publications, networking opportunities, and even jobs. I warmly welcome you to renew your membership and invite other planners and institutions to join and support ISOCARP and participate in our activities, communities of practice, events, and congresses. I hope to meet with you in November 2021 in Doha, Qatar, celebrating our friendship and contributing to the International Society of City and Regional Planners.
Thank you very much, Martin, for well-thought speech, thought-provoking, nice pictures. It brings us close to reality. I was so excited and I felt like I'm in a movie somewhere else. And yeah, maybe you need to start looking for designing one badge for this year. And I don't know what you're gonna call it, since it's online. Without wasting time, I will then invite Piotr to take us to the next item. Thank you very much. Over to you, Piotr.
Thank you very much, Hope. Thank you very much, Martin. Now we start the first roundtable for today, which is the Place Leaders Roundtable Urban Green Deals. This will be moderated by our colleague from ISOCARP, but also the prominent member of UN Habitat, which is Shipra Narang Suri, Dr. Shipra Narang Suri, I should say. Shipra, please, floor is yours. Could you please introduce the panelists as well as if you could start the session. Over to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, colleagues. Thank you, Piotr. Great remarks, Martin, and an absolute pleasure to be here with all of you today. As Piotr said, I work for UN Habitat. I'm the chief of the Urban Practices branch, but I'm a long-standing co-conspirator and closet member of ISOCARP. Have been so for 20 years, sometimes open, sometimes closet, but very much a long-standing champion. And it's wonderful to see so many familiar faces here today. UN Habitat is very pleased to partner with ISOCARP on this Congress and this particular Congress because we believe there is a very important role for planners to reflect on the critical issues facing society, facing the planet, and then, as Martin just said, to help plan, to help shape, and to help set the development agenda for the future. It's an honor to moderate this panel with representatives of a diverse group of cities, as well as the national government from Qatar, our next host, and particularly in this virtual setting, but very dynamically managed virtual Congress of ISOCARP. 2020 has been an exceptional year for people and planet. If you have been following what the Secretary General of the United Nations, our boss, said, he called it annus horribilis in one of his recent speeches. It has set us back significantly in the global goals, with millions more people pushed into poverty, with rising inequality, a million plus lives lost, the spread of hunger and disease like it hasn't been seen in 100 years, rising unemployment, rising domestic violence, education loss, deepening gender inequalities. So on many, many fronts, this year has been full of setbacks. However, the year also gave us a glimpse, a sliver of hope, a glimpse of possibilities of what can change. It showed us, 2020 showed us that it is possible to make radical choices. It is possible to cut our emissions. It is possible to take new measures. It is possible to develop new policies in consultation with stakeholders, with communities, with citizens. It is possible for national and local governments to work together. So to use a cliche, yes, we can. Yes, we can indeed. And 2021 should be the year when we do. 2020 also put to rest, I think, permanently, or I hope permanently, the notion that the government is a mere facilitator and that the private sector will provide all the solutions to us. It also reinforced the importance of public policy, public services, the public realm. These came to the forefront like never before. In short, 2020 dared us. It dared us to think differently, to act differently, to imagine differently, and to plan differently. And I'm really pleased that ISOCARP has taken up this dare, taken up this challenge to imagine a post-oil city and to plan for urban green deals. And this is why this last closing panel, this last closing plenary session is extremely important to bring these views to the forefront. So we have city leaders and government leaders in this session to share with us some thoughts about how they react to this notion of urban green deals. What do they think about it? Who do these deals, who are we making these deals for? Who's involved in these so-called deals? And where do you even start talking about green deals? You know, is it greenwashing or is it really deeply green? What do you call a green deal? And finally, how do you integrate this new trend, this new phenomenon with your existing plans and policies and strategies? So to discuss all of these, we have a phenomenal panel, which I will introduce as we go along. We have representatives from Belgium, from Canada, Indonesia, Poland, Qatar, South Africa, and Iran. So let me start first with a video, a pre-recorded video that we have from Pascal Smet, the State Secretary responsible for Urbanism and Heritage, Brussels, Belgium. I believe the Secretariat should be able to. Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon from Brussels, the capital of Europe, where it is cloudy and raining. I'm not here to talk about the weather, but in the way that we are going to change our city in the circular economy and in the way we can become a really sustainable city. Let me first say that the identity of a city is determined by its people, by its public space and by its building and the interaction between that. In Brussels, we have been creating a lot of new public space the last years. Those of you who have visited will know that Brussels is a city for cars, or has been a city for cars, because we are transforming it now into a city for people. That means that we are creating car-free squares, that we are reducing the lanes in the street, that we are creating separate, secured and safe bike lanes, that we are creating new parks, new green zones in the city, and all that to give more space to people to become human again and to talk and to have interaction in a city. But we don't want to do that only on the ground. We want also to use the roofs of buildings in order to create them as public meeting places for the whole public when it's big enough, or for the people living in a building when it's building related. In this way, we can create new meeting places and public space in a city. But of course, green public space is not enough, or public space in general. It's necessary, but not enough. In the circular economy, we have to look also in the way that we want to build buildings. In Brussels, when a developer is coming to us right now in order to get a permit, we will always ask at first, do you really have to demolish this building? Can't you renovate this building? And they have to prove to us that the renovation is only possible by demolition. If it's possible without demolition, we will not allow them to do that. So you can only construct, demolish and construct a new building when it's absolutely necessary. And of course, we are doing that in order to save our planet. But when it is decided to demolish, or when it is decided to go to a thorough renovation, it's also very important that the material is not thrown away. In Brussels, we ask that the material is being reused in the new project or in other projects on other sites. In that way, we can reuse material, which is also very good for our planet. And in Brussels, in the past, we have been very advanced on the passive building. We are the pioneers in the world, and we have lots of passive buildings in this city. So the combination of creating new public space on the ground, but also on the roofs, the way that we look into the construction of new buildings and the reuse of material, and when there is new build, the use of sustainable material, makes that we are now having the transition from a city for cars to a city for people, from an old economy to a circular economy. And this is necessary because we are in new times, and in this after COVID times, it's much more important that we become a city of the future. After all, we are the capital of Europe, and the capital of Europe has to show the example.
Fantastic. What inspiring words. I think that is absolutely fundamental. A circular economy, a city for the people, a city for the future, and the capital of Europe showing us the way. Absolutely. So that's a good stage setter for us to go into the panel. I'd like to now invite from across the pond, Mayor of Kitchener, Mayor Vrbanovic. Mayor, we've heard you before. You've been such a leader in in creating a sustainable future for your city and your community. Tell us a little bit about your thoughts on this idea of urban green deals. Are you able to develop these? Who are these for? And how do you see these being integrated into your own plans and policies? You have 5 minutes, Smith.
Well, thank you very much, Your Excellencies, delegates, ladies and gentlemen. It's a real pleasure to join you for this closing plenary of the Congress. And for those of you who aren't familiar with the city of Kitchener in Canada, we're 100 kilometers west of Toronto on the western end of the Toronto-Waterloo Region Innovation Corridor, sometimes known as Canada's Silicon Valley. And with a population of about 270,000, we are amongst the fastest growing regions in Canada for the 3rd year in a row. At the City of Kitchener, we're committed to climate action and building a green city. Council and staff understand our role as global citizens and the need to be prepared for the effects of climate change. We understand that through actions such as reducing the city's greenhouse gas emissions and preparing for impacts resulting from climate change, we're confronting and even leveraging current and future realities that municipalities like us are faced with. We're proud to be a part of the Climate Action Waterloo Region collaboration, whose community climate action plan embodies engagement. It's led by 2 outstanding local nonprofits, Reap Green Solutions and Sustainable Waterloo Region, in partnership with our local governments, where we have a 2-tiered local government structure. Last year, Kitchener City Council joined cities around the world in declaring a climate emergency, highlighting the urgent need for strong action in addressing the threats posed by climate change. And as we continue to move forward, we want to ensure that climate action remains at the forefront of our minds, guiding our actions and decisions in building this green city. This played a key role during the development of our 2019 to 2022 strategic plan, which included specific quantifiable SMART goals, which have been mapped to the UN Sustainable Development Goals at a high level. And Kitchener's participation in the ISO World Council on City Data Platinum certification, where we reported on 90 of the 104 indicators within their ISO 37120 designation. At the City of Kitchener, as we think about our role as a post-oil city, we're focused on climate mitigation through a variety of means, particularly through energy innovation and equity work, including a 500 kilowatt per hour solar array, which with additional arrays being installed, solar-powered anti-idling kits for fleet and electric vehicles, plus expansion of corporate and public electric vehicle charging network, a district energy system, which is open-loop geothermal powered, an energy reserve fund to strategically invest and reinvest in capital energy savings and resiliency projects, and working with local expert partners, academia, equity seeking, and social innovators, we're setting new standards for embedding equity throughout the climate action planning process. Kitchener understands the value of climate adaptation. We were the first utility in Canada to implement a stormwater management plan, now with an award-winning plant and integrated approach. We've received $50 million in disaster mitigation and adaptation funding from our federal government to build out green infrastructure that will benefit this plan. And next week, Council will discuss a market incentive program, which would be a nationally leading risk mitigation and economic development-based program, again, funded through an equity lens. Kitchener is committed to being a leader in this work. However, we're also realistic and know that there's always work for improvement. As we build a green city with more parks, with more open spaces, and we look at placemaking, we also recognize that building sustainability through an equity lens is key. And so to that end, Council approved funding the creation of an equity, anti-racism and Indigenous initiatives team, a new housing strategy, and a $110 million Make It Kitchener economic development strategy, which will guide us to build back better post this COVID-19 pandemic. We've made great strides in our work, but we recognize we couldn't have done this on our own. The federal and provincial governments have been an incredible partner, providing infrastructure and funding to make our vision a reality. As a city, one of our key lessons that we've learned both from our history and the SDGs is that a municipal government can only succeed when it works in partnership with the entire community. Council and staff at the Kitchener are committed to continue our learning by engaging with innovators in cities globally, demonstrating what is possible by sharing practical experience with others and examining barriers that hold back progress. In closing, today's roundtable and the entire World Planning Congress is a perfect example of how we can build on these partnerships, working together to bring about the changes that we all want to see. And I would like to thank all of you as municipal professionals and professionals in the planning field for the important role that you that you provide in assisting our cities in building back better as we look forward in the coming years. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mayor, for those insights and for keeping us to 5 minutes, which is great for me as the moderator. We'll pick up on some of the questions you raised as part of the discussion. But for now, let me move to Asia, to across the globe, to Mayor Bima Arya, the mayor of Bogor city in Indonesia. Mayor, what are your thoughts on this question of urban green deals for an emerging economy such as Indonesia? What do you think? Will this ever work? The floor is yours. 5 minutes, please.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, you are muted.
Mayor, we cannot hear you.
Oh, yes, can you hear me now? All right.
Yes.
Thank you, Shipra. It is really an honor for me to share what we are facing in our beloved city related to the issue of climate change. and what we have been doing since the last 7 years, because I've been in office since 7 years. Bogor was known as the Green City. Bogor was also known as the city with a good climate, because we are surrounded by the mountain. We have the huge botanical gardens right in the heart of the city. But frankly to say, since like 15 to 20 years ago, there has been a dramatic change, if I may say. Bogor is hotter, Bogor is warmer, and more natural disaster, flood, particularly during the rain season. So since the last 15 and 20 years, we have been facing an issue about the climate change. Our city is hotter and hotter. And when I took office 7 years ago, I decided to focus on this issue to make Bogor as the city with good concerns on climate change issue. It is our passions to focus on waste management, natural disaster, and of course the climate change. So as a mayor, I initiate the programs by inviting the stakeholders, what I call as the pentahelix, the academia, community, mass media, and of course, the bureaucrats and entrepreneurs to raise an issue as our common interest. So I started my term as a mayor by, formulating the concept towards the green city, Bogor returning as the real green city. And I believe that low carbon development is a must to build our city. So the major concern here is how to generate this issue to become the public interest, to become the hot issue compared to other issues like educations, of course, and job employment, and so on and so forth. So based on the concept that we are making with collaborations with the stakeholders, we have been doing some significant changes. For example, building 10 new parks in the heart of the city with total 15 hectares, and improving the quality of pedestrian path. So we are urging the people to back to nature using public facilities, because we are improving the quality of public spaces. And also we are focusing on the urban green kampung, urban green village, the green project of the kampung or the village. And our concern is also to integrate any city development, particularly economic project, with the greening strategy. For example, if we are relocating the street peddlers, we are relocating the traders, so we should make the food court with the touch of green environment. And last year, we introduced the significant policy to ban plastic bag in all modern market throughout the city. So the program has been successful because we have been significantly reducing the volume of waste since 2 years ago. But I have to say that we are also facing a number of challenges. First, yes, we have the issue of budget limitation. Second, we have the issue of limited the capacity of our bureaucrats. So we need to improve the capacity of our bureaucrats in handling this sophisticated issue, because for them, for most of the bureaucrats, the issue is more on low-hanging fruit, some sort of things, compared to our long-term vision related to the issue of climate change. And the third challenge is raising awareness of the public. It's never easy to educate the public because the social structure of our society here in Bogor. And lastly, yes, we are facing the challenges from our counterpart, the member of the parliament in the Bogor city, because they are the one who approve our annual budget. So it is never easy to convince our counterparts. So I'm always have suggestions if we have invitations to attend the conference. I always ask to bring along our counterparts, so they can be educated by other speakers about this issue. So it is something like lacking. It is really important also to focus on the member of parliament, because they have the rights to approve our budget. So last but not least, I do hope that we can have a continuous support from international community, international organization in improving our awareness, in improving our budget capacity, peer-to-peer learning from our city counterparts throughout the world. We are looking forward to learn from other city experience to develop the capacity of our bureaucrats here in Bogor. I think that would be the end of my presentation. Thank you very much. All the best, stay healthy and be happy.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Thank you very much for those words. I think you're absolutely right. Why should people care? Why should people care about the long-term vision? And to persuade them, to bring them on side is one of the biggest challenges. How to make this a hot issue. I like that. I think that's very, very important. And then your commitment to integrating all sectoral strategies with the Green City objective of Bogor. I think really that's what we're looking for in terms of when we say green deals. Are they going to replace everything, or are they going to provide the overarching vision within which other strategies are integrated? So thank you for those thoughts. Without further ado, let's move on. And it's my pleasure now to invite Deputy Mayor of Wrocław, Mayor Jakub Mazur. Mayor, over to you, to Poland. Moving towards a real post-oil, post-coal, a green future. How difficult, how easy is it to think about an urban Green Deal in your context?
My context, in context of Wrocław, it's of course very easy. I'm just joking. It's terrible challenge we all struggle with, but thank you very much for this invitation. It's not only great honor, but also a privilege to be among such a distinguished guest and group and sharing some opinion about my beloved city. And of course, congratulations about successful 56th Congress, because we already can say after those couple of months that you did great job. So congratulations to all of you and all of us participants of this Congress. Because we are talking about similar position of our cities and similar solutions that we have, let me share with you some kind of reflection about my city, about some kind of Polish city. And Wrocław is about 1 million population city, is very successful, one of the fastest growing and developing city in this area in whole Europe, according to some rankings. And of course, we have a lot of challenges. In that part, we are at some turning point and some crucial moment, maybe some critical point that we have to be on a crossroad between the old economy, old way of thinking, some, let's say, old models of acting, and we are in all legislations very deep. And on another hand, we are also very modern inhabitant-oriented and real, truly green city-orientated, very modern, fast-growing metropolitan. And in that situation, we decided to have some kind of cutting the past and thinking about real future, about having how to have real impact on future decisions. So in spite we have quite new strategy for 2030, in spite we have a strategic document, it's a spatial development study, we choose to change it in order to provide some new solutions. And of course, it is reason of our recent past. After several years of rapid urbanization, we decided to have new principles. The real one directed to sustainable development in a green way. It applies both to greenfield and brownfield. And because of this, we are trying to take care about this real polycentric development of the city and inhabitant and participant oriented participants of a decision-making process. And it is important to us to recognize what we have, what are our resources in our hands in order to have the right shot, to use them in a most efficient way, in a proper way. And because of this, because of this implementation of new principal philosophy, green philosophy of our city, we are able to give back to our city, to urban life, to our inhabitants, some post-industrial and some post-military areas of the city. And we do certainly know, because we are observing and we are a part of such a community as today ISOCARP, we know how to predict future, but for how long? Maybe 5, maybe 10 years? There is no the wise man who can predict the whole future. But in our case, we put strategy for even 2050 in order to make it long-term sustainable change and to make it happen. And we are doing this because it's already shaped by European Union legislation, by national legislation in case of Poland, and because of our local changing urban and architectural regulation. And because of this, we are very lucky because we have plenty of time to spend on many meetings, but we are in many organizations, association international. So we are that lucky to have opportunity to not only create but implement some of those crucial documentation, let's say it like urban agenda or Green Deal philosophy in all legislation acts, but also Leipzig chapter, which is very important to our thinking about new city in next 30 years. And of course, we have plenty of policies, strategies, and operational plans that we have. Let's name just a few from 100. It's like climate neutrality by 2050, comprehensive and sustainable management of water and rainwater, development of renewable energy sources, that is blank spot in our case, increasing the potential of green areas to improve public spaces. It's like, 300 meters for every residence, no longer. And then circular economy that was already mentioned, digital transformation, and we are proud to be a center of AI, municipal working over those decision-making processes that can be improved. And of course, in facing the urban and metropolitan dimension of EU policies. It comes with politics, and of course it comes with money, because it's about perspective 21, 27. We want to be here, we want to have our voice and to participate in creating those smart strategies. We have a lot of challenges, as you see, but we are not afraid. We are looking boldly and very bravely into the future. And together with you, I hope we are able to make a huge change. I strongly believe we can manage. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mayor, for those very strong and bold and hopeful words. I think it's very important. And the idea of peer learning, the idea of exchanging, the idea of understanding what's going on also helps us, it helps all of us, our cities, our policymakers, our citizens, our planners, open our minds and see how new approaches are working. So thank you for engaging in that arena. Let me move now to my home continent, I would say. Let's move to Africa. And it's my pleasure to now invite the Deputy Mayor of Durban, Councillor Belinda Scott, to share some thoughts about whether the Green Deals, the Urban Green Deal is a possibility or is just a mirage in our region. What do you think?
Definitely a possibility. The Ethekwini municipality was selected to be amongst the first 33 countries to join the international 100 resilient cities, and supports the adoption and incorporation of a view of resilience that includes not just the shocks, earthquakes, fires, floods, of which Ethekwini has been a recipient of huge fire and floods just in the last couple of months, but also the stresses that weaken the fabric of a city on a day-to-day or cyclical basis. Our municipality has since developed a citywide climate change adaptation and mitigation strategy through an inclusive and participatory process. The strategy is converting Durban to a low-carbon green economy that prioritizes the sustainable use of ecosystem services while still overcoming the development challenges faced by many of our residents. The projects associated with the green initiatives are strategic and tend to span across a variety of operational areas impacting social and economic well-being. It is within this premise that the Ethekwini municipality integrated the Green New Deals within the spatial and land use policy framework of the city. Also in urban design and building plan approval processes, provision of infrastructure and green buildings are the main drivers of our city's Green Deals flagship programs. And in this regard, the municipality is a secretariat of the Durban Adaptation Charter, which aims to commit its 1,100 global signatories to the 10 climate change adaptation principles contained within the Charter. Our municipal green building bylaw, which was passed last year, requires all new buildings, residential, commercial, industrial, and government, to be net zero carbon by 2030, and aligned the city's commitment to the C40 net zero carbon buildings declaration. In 2019, the council adopted a climate action plan which builds on the 2015 Durban climate change strategy. The goal of the plan is to ramp up ambition and actions required to limit the global temperature increase to 1.5 degrees and thereby limit impacts facing our more vulnerable communities. The CAP provides a pathway for Durban to achieve climate resilience and carbon neutrality by 2050. Our city is at that point where it needs the rigorous implementation of transformative projects that will result in systemic change across the city. Some of the programs and policies that are implemented in the municipality to date include a sustainable energy sector development plan to advance the sustainable energy sector of the green economy within Durban, the piloting of renewable energy technologies and municipal infrastructure, which includes solar, photovoltaic installations and waste to energy installations. 40% of Durban's electricity is to be supplied from renewable energy by 2030. We are mobilizing more energy efficient projects in addition to the existing initiatives like the Sisha Solar Program, the National Solar Water Heater Program for homes, and the Energy Efficiency Demand Side Management Program. We, as a municipality, we have turned several municipal owned sites to a renewable energy project, like the Ushaka Marine World, the Moses Mabhida Stadium Sky Car, and the People's Park Restaurant, just to mention a few. Our Water and Sanitation Department has implemented water demand management measures, including water recycling, to reduce water demand in the face of projected climate change impacts. It also includes the accelerated provision of rainwater harvesting tanks in rural and low-income settlements in the city. The Mgeni Ecological Infrastructure Program, which focuses on investing in natural systems within the Mgeni River catchment, is to improve ecosystem services and quality and water quality. Just a few more points. The cleansing solid waste, landfill gas to electricity projects at the Buffels Dry and Marion Hill land site. And this was established, we have established an information collection system for waste and pollution statistics relevant to the GHG emissions to form the basis of a waste-related GHG emissions and formulate relevant mitigation, mitigation action plan. The city has also entered into a PPP with the private sector to drive on-site energy efficient initiatives in pursuit of future distribution to the existing electricity grid. Some examples include Macro, Dubai Trade Port, and Toyota. And lastly, the National Energy Efficient Low Carbon Transport Program is to develop an enhanced public transport program to promote lower carbon mobility in Durban. The program improves municipal vehicle efficiency program to the efficiency of the city fleet vehicles and our entire city stock. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. I think it's very important to see what you said. You know, we need projects across sectors that will lead to systemic change and that will allow us to achieve the goals of the climate strategy and the action plan. And thank you for sharing with us your projects across housing, buildings, water, energy, waste. It's really a system-wide strategy and a system-wide action plan. So thank you very much for that. Moving along quite quickly, I'm mindful of time. May I now invite Mr. Ibrahim Abbas, the Director of Infrastructure Planning Department, the Ministry of Municipalities and Environment from Qatar, to please share his views.
Thank you very much. On behalf of the Minister of Municipality and Environment, I'm glad to be with you here today on this roundtable. Really, Qatar is different after, let's say, 2010. Because when they win the World Cup in 2010, everything has changed. And what we are now is completely different. Even regarding this issue, the Green Deal, urban green deals, a lot of things change with Qatar. And I hope see you this year and also next year when the World Cup will start to see the difference by yourself. Anyhow, just I will go through something to share with regarding green deals and urban green deals. Okay. We here in Qatar work on urban centers. This is one of the deliverables of the Qatar National Master Plan. And actually, the idea behind it that instead of put everything in one center and bring the people all to that place and make a lot of traffic jam, but also time management. So the one of the deliverables was nearly 23 centers around Doha, plus another centers within the other cities in Qatar. And this will encourage the compacted urbanity and walkability, which really will help in green cities. Also, we have creating a national strategy for green space and park. A lot of things changed since 2010, as I mentioned earlier. Number of parks and green area within the cities in Qatar, I can say it is become doubled and more than that. Okay. And it's still to come because we have another, let's say 20 to 30% of what we have now. It needs to be complete before 2020. Also, we have finished the strategy for climate change and the impact on the urban planning. And this is really, there is a lot of things will change the way we are approve our design for the development. And this is one of the output of that strategy. Also, we have the strategy for water. Actually, this has been approved last year, and it is action plan now and started this year. And we hope within the 3 to 5 coming years, a lot of things will be changed regarding the sustainability and water sector. Because, you know, Qatar, it's not rich in water. We depend on desalination plant. So the water, it's most important issue we have here in Qatar. So this strategy now concentrate and reuse the water in the way that every single drop of water will be reused for the domestic, for the industrial sector, for also plantations. We have very ambitious strategy for the water regarding plantation. There is a plan to have nearly 5 million trees within the coming 3 years. It is not easy to plant 3 years in Qatar. You know, the weather a little bit, it's very hot, needs a lot of water. But this all will, I hope soon will be, we will see it very soon. Also, we have, regarding the energy and clean energy, electrical cars, there is a plan to encourage the electrical cars. There's a plan already it is implemented for transportation, for the public transportations. Now we are in a better positions because the public transportation now, to some extent, it's more than before, because before we reliable in the road networks nearly 100%. The public transportation was negligible regarding the transportation. Now we reach nearly 20%, which is the figure will reduce the CO2, the car emissions, carbons, and also will help a lot. And also in the national master plan for transportation, we put a plan for Doha city that we reach up to 60%. Okay. So it is a little bit impatient that move directly from, let's say, nearly 100%, it depends on individual cars, to get nearly 60% depends on the public transport. And also the company who's responsible about buses, now it is going on the way that convert the buses to the electrical buses, and it is now ongoing, nearly there, reach 30% of their buses for the public transport. All these, actually, it is happening here in Qatar. And I also refer all these to what happens in 2010 when we won the World Cup, because really it changed a lot here in Qatar, changed our life even in different way. I am sure what we are doing now, especially regarding greening. Yeah, before 2010, to some extent, nobody thinking about the greening here in Qatar. Yeah, there is maybe some thought or some ideas, but not in this depth. Now everything is changed here in Qatar, especially with this pandemic and also what we've been through the last 3 years from our neighbors. Alhamdulillah, thanks to God, it's go to the end. But really, we are here. We concentrate more in greening regarding the landscape, regarding the parks, regarding even giving the lands here in urban planning, because urban planning.
Mr. Abbas, I will have to ask you to wrap up, please. We're getting signals that the session time is over.
We have several projects. One of them, we have also going for the solar energy. This will be finished very soon, before 2022, before the World Cup. It's nearly, it is like a pilot of projects. It's 500 megawatt of solar energy. The project is going on, and I hope we have another thing, other projects with solid waste, with the transportation, and also with the development, with the green building. Actually, we hope we have a lot of initiative, and because of time, maybe when you will be here in Qatar next year, I hope this pandemic will end. You will see all this by yourself.
We will see these ourselves. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you for that snapshot and that futuristic view. And I'm sure everybody in the room is now even more excited about coming to Doha next year and to Qatar for the Congress. So thank you very much. And thanks also for marking how perspectives change sometimes with a milestone. And for you, that milestone was 2010 when you won the World Cup. So the bid. So thank you very much. That was very, very, very interesting. Let me now switch gears and go back to a pre-recorded video that we have from Mayor Pirooz Hanachi, the mayor of Tehran. If the team can please play that video.
خانم ها، آقایان، دوستان و همکاران گرامی، فرصت را مغتنم شمرده و مراتب سپاس و قدردانی خود را از دعوت به این رویداد جهانی که هدف از آن ایجاد زمینه ارتباط و تعامل میان شهرهاست ابراز می‌نمایم. همچنین مایلم از برگزاری موفقیت آمیز 56مین کنگره ایزوکارپ که با توجه به تمام مشکلات و چالش‌های ناشی از همه‌گیری کرونا به صورت آنلاین برگزار شد تشکر کرده و متعاقباً علاقمندی خود را برای شرکت در این کنگره که در ماه نوامبر در دوحه برگزار خواهد شد اعلام نمایم. بدون شک قرن 20 قرن سوخت‌های فسیلی و اتومبیل بود. میراث این دوران در شهرها و سیاست‌ها و برنامه‌ریزی تحت سلطه نفت هنوز به وضوح قابل مشاهده است. اثرات این سیاست‌ها فقط در کیفیت فضای کالبدی خلاصه نشده و اثرات منفی استفاده بیش از حد از سوخت‌های فسیلی در زندگی روزمره شهروندان قابل ملاحظه است. توجه برنامه‌ریزی برای شهرها در دوران پس از نفت نیازمند تغییر اندیشه و نگرش‌های زیست محیطی، برنامه‌ریزی‌های سازگار با طبیعت و بهینه‌سازی سبک ساخت و ساز و تدوین استانداردهای جدید برای مواجهه با تغییرات اقلیمی است. در این میان شهرسازان و مدیران شهری باید ساختارهای غیرمنعطف، تغییرات اقلیمی، ماهیت محدود انرژی فسیلی، بحرانهای مالی و سیستماتیک جهانی در شهرهای پس از نفت را بررسی کرده و نه تنها کالبد شهر بلکه روند تغییرات اجتماعی را در کنار تغییرات زیست محیطی پایش نمایند و با تغییر در سیاست‌های مدیریتی در مسیر توسعه پایدار قدم بگذارند. در کلانشهر تهران با حدود 9 میلیون نفر جمعیت، 24مین شهر پرجمعیت دنیا، در سالهای اخیر قدم‌های مثبتی برای کاهش نقش نفت به عنوان محرک اقتصادی، سیاسی و شهری برداشته شده است. اما با این حال تهران راه زیادی برای تبدیل شدن به شهر پایدار و بدون نفت در پیش دارد. نبود نفت در ایران به عنوان یکی از بزرگترین صادرکنندگان این ماده در مقیاس کلان شهری چون تهران قطعاً باعث تغییرات فراوان کالبدی و ماهیتی خواهد شد. به اعتقاد بنده ایده نهفته در شهر پس از نفت این نیست که چه اتفاقی برای کشورها پس از اتمام نفت خواهد افتاد، بلکه در واقع به دنبال نوع برخورد صحیح با این چالش و پیشروی به سوی شهرهای سبز خواهد بود. تهران با شعار شهری برای همه همچون بسیاری از شهرها در حال توسعه رویکردهای جدیدی در زمینه برنامه‌ریزی شهری است تا با تغییر در سیاست‌گذاری‌های شهری گام‌های مثبت برای اجرای اهداف توسعه پایدار در سالهای آتی برداشته و موجبات آینده سرسبزی را فراهم آورد. این برنامه‌ها و استراتژی‌های جدید شامل طرح‌های مرتبط با تغییر شکل ساختار فیزیکی شهر، از جمله تقسیم هوشمندانه کاربری‌ها و استفاده بیشتر از کاربری‌های مختلط و چند منظوره، بازنگری در سیستم و شبکه حمل و نقل شهری مبتنی بر دوچرخه، پیاده و وسایط نقلیه عمومی سبز، سبزتر شدن ساختار شهری با استفاده از معماری سبز و پایدار و دخیل کردن مردم با ایجاد انگیزه‌های اقتصادی در یافتن راهکارهای طراحی شهری برای ارتقاء سلامت و کیفیت محیط شهری است. در این سیاست‌های پیشنهادی نگاه جدیدی در ماهیت توسعه اقتصادی و درآمدهای شهری نیز وجود دارد و سعی بر آن شده تا با نیازها و انتظارات جوامع محلی از طریق توسعه اقتصادی محلی برنامه‌ریزی و تحلیل شود. به طور خلاصه چالش‌های بسیاری در جامعه شهری امروز تهران و جهان برای رهایی از وابستگی نفتی وجود دارد که مهمترین آنها عدم شناخت جایگزین مناسب، عدم سرمایه‌گذاری بین‌المللی در نتیجه وجود تحریم‌های ظالمانه، کمبود تجربه جهانی، وجود آلودگی‌های ناشی از فعالیت‌های صنعتی، ترافیکی و شهری است. پیشروی به سوی استفاده از انرژی‌های پاک، ایمن و تجدیدپذیر یکی از راه‌های مقابله با این چالش‌هاست. از حسن توجه شما کمال تشکر را می‌نمایم. موفق باشید.
Wonderful. Colleagues, please pass on our thanks to the Mayor of Tehran for his message and for reminding us that we have to align our priorities with the Agenda 2030. If it has to be city for everyone, then it has to be, we have to move towards sustainable development goals and an inclusive future for all. So please do express our thanks to the Mayor. Last, but certainly not the least, I would like to invite for a very short reflection the Vice Mayor of Antwerp, Tom Mews. Vice Mayor, you spoke yesterday about the climate plan for Antwerp in the Congress, and it was a very well-received presentation. So on popular demand, can you give us a short 2-minute reflection on how this climate plan for Antwerp is playing out and whether this will replace your existing spatial plans or be integrated or provide the overarching vision? Just a couple of minutes on that, please.
Thank you, Shipra. I keep it shortly, but well, it's heartwarming, non-fossil fueled heartwarming to see and to hear this afternoon that a city like Cllr or Durban in Poland, that we all share as post-oil city politicians, we all share the same mission and vision, and we have the same systemic strategies in tackling the big climate problems. Whether we talk about mitigation or adaptation, it's really, for me, heartwarming to hear that on a local level, on a city level, we really share the same strategies worldwide, but on a local level. So if you would like to have some proof whether you need local green deals, urban green deals, well, we are experiencing it here right now. So just 2 minutes, I want to add up something. That's first of all, I won't talk a lot about Antwerp. We're a 500,000 city in the western part of Europe, nearby River Scheldt. And I just want to say one word to Durban. We have to refresh our friendship relations. So we skip Kaapstad and we go to Durban next year. But because it's quite similar what we are experiencing now. We are a big, as a city, we're at 200 square kilometers great, but we are a big playground for all city and regional planners because we have a master plan for the redeveloping our 17-kilometer right bank. We have a big Sigma plan where we create hundreds of hectares of natural flooding areas, and we are completing our ring road. That sounds a bit strange, but we are completing our ring road in order to have an opportunity to reinvent our public transport system, and in order to rooftop our old ring road rooftop, and covering up our rooftop, it's a 400 hectares of at least 7 new green parks. So everyone is welcome. First we go to Doha, but in the meantime, you can always visit our city. We are a big school. We are a big playground for regional planners. But one thing we learned in Antwerp, that is, we reached our climate goals. We had a 20% degree of CO2 emissions from the year 2005 until 2020. So we reached our goals, and maybe other cities reach our goals too. National governments don't reach their goals, but at a local level, cities that share those visions, those strategies that we're talking about here, well, we reached our goals, but now we are entering a totally new phase. We can't depend anymore on the individual inhabitant that put some solar panels on his rooftop. And so what we figured out, and that's the lesson I want to share with you, we figured out that you need multi-agency approach, you need multi-government approach. But in our city, we are a port city. We are one of the biggest ports in Europe, the second largest port, and the second largest petrochemical cluster in the world after Houston. And what we discovered is the last 30 years, we got a bit dispersed, the city and the port area. We got a kind of divorced with a separated governance structure. And what we now figured out, that we want to marry again. We have to marry again our port. And why is that? If you want to tackle, if someone said it, if you have picked the low-hanging fruit, then the next phase is, well, searching for systemic solutions. And in our city, and I talk now for a lot of port cities, I think, but in our city, the big opportunity is the port. We discovered our port as a powerhouse for the whole of the city and the city region. To just give you briefly 2 examples, we can build some more wind turbines onshore. Belgium is known for an offshore country. I mean, we're very good at it. We like to export that technology, so be welcome. But onshore, in the port area, there's enough place to create more wind energy, more wind turbines. We are planning to build so much wind turbines that the whole of that powerhouse in wind energy can provide electricity for all the inhabitants. And that's quite well, that is, if you let your imagination work, then you can convince the carrying capacity, you can raise the awareness with the public, which the mayor in Asia was talking about. And the second example, and then I conclude, in our port, we have enough waste heat to, in a decarbonized way, to heat all residential buildings in our city. And so these are 2 examples where you need systemic planning. You have to create wind zoning planning. You have to create a whole new kind of pipes and tubes network for having that waste heat from the port, get that to the inner city. So we have a lot of work to do in a systemic approach, but I like to really conclude with that. It's heartwarming that cities as different as the cities that are here now in the chat, but that cities, after all, and in the end, suffer the same problems, but now are inventing in a systemic way all the kind of similar solutions. And that's non-fossil fueled, heartwarming.
Thank you very much, Vice Mayor. And it's interesting, in 2007, we were in your city for the ISOCARP Congress, 43rd, I think, on, and that, I think we were talking about linking visioning with strategic urban projects. And you have really taken that to a whole new level. So thank you very much for sharing those thoughts. And for also helping and bring this session to a close. I'm going to wrap with 3 or 4 main points. First of all, that climate goals and urban green deals are not standalone. Everybody said this. They have to cut across sectors. They have to cut across levels of government. They have to be horizontally and vertically mainstreamed across our city priorities, but not just our city priorities, across our regional and national priorities as well. So I think that's the first thing, that the planning for an urban green deal is welcome, is opportune, is important, but has to be really multifaceted, multidimensional, multi-sectoral, and multi-level. That's the first. My second takeaway from this really is the importance of taking a long view and taking a long-term view and taking a wide range of stakeholders along. And that requires a lot of advocacy. That requires a lot of persistence. That requires bottom-up consultations, top-down engagement, and that's very much a part of this process of the long-term change and transformation that we're looking at, and that very many of our speakers today were talking about. A third point I think I want to talk about is keeping in mind the larger global goals and looking at really transformation, using climate interventions, Green Deal interventions to better the quality, the everyday quality of life of people. It is not either or. It is not that if you are providing housing, if you're focusing on slums, if you're focusing on basic services and infrastructure to the very large multitudes of poor or underserved people in your cities and communities, that you cannot focus on climate. It really has to be one leveraging the other. And that came out quite strongly in several presentations, whether it was from Indonesia or from South Africa or from several others. And I think finally, the importance of capturing and capitalizing on milestone moments. I think what Qatar told us was very interesting. They had an opportunity in 2010 when they won the bid for the World Cup, and everything changed. Everything changed. They transformed their perspective, their world changed. And by 2022, keeping that very important target in mind, by 2022, Qatar will be a different place from what it was 12 years ago. And 12 years only, not 20 years to achieve that transformation, which is quite phenomenal. Thank you. I would like to thank each and every one of you. Vice Mayor of Antwerp just said, we're all post-oil city politicians here. No, we're all post-oil city leaders here. And I would like to thank each and every one of you for your vision, for your commitment, for your ability to take each one of us along, for your open-mindedness, and for being able to predict and plan for and work towards a much more sustainable, green, and inclusive future for all of us. For not only your own people, but for all of us across this planet. So thank you. And back to you, Piotr, with apologies for going a bit over time.
Thank you very much, Shipra, for well-facilitated session. I think we have learned a lot. You know, what makes this session special is because we are talking to policymakers and people who got the power and the ability to implement some of these projects. So thank you very much. And I think, as you've noted, that we are running behind time, I will then ask Professor Lorens just to give some remarks on the session. Then we can move to the next session on reflections. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Hope. Thank you very much, Shipra, also. I have to say that we know each other with Shipra for quite a long time. I don't want to say how long, but it was, I would say, exotic circumstances where we met, and this was really great. I still remember those good old days. But I have a feeling the more we know each other, the more in-depth our discussions are in this today's panel, and also the takeaways of all of those discussions were absolutely amazing and very much in line with that what we discussed as the Congress message, so to speak. And also when we were discussing the topic, actually still before COVID times, it's hard to imagine, but actually we were discussing this topic well before the COVID times. We actually realized, or we actually anticipated that every city will have its own way to deal. And today's panel was the perfect example, the perfect exemplification that this thesis was absolutely right. So let's actually move to the next item. Hope if you could introduce us, please.
Thank you very much, Piotr. Then we will move to our next section, which is about Congress summary and reflections. And of course, this will be led by Piotr. But just to mention is that this is about the Congress team, people who were involved in putting this together. So Piotr, can you just introduce the team for us?
Absolutely, I will. Thank you very much. And let's start the presentation, if I can ask. This is the summary of our Congress. It was delivered jointly by the entire team, and I have to say that in order to save time, we have decided to make it in two ways. First of all, I will introduce the main summary and key results of our Congress, and then we will play the video with the key messages delivered by all the Congress team members. And before we go to that, I'd like to say a big thank you to Hope, my co-general rapporteur. Once again, we have been cooking that jointly, and it was really our great joint effort. So the main theme of the Congress, as you know, is postal city and planning for urban green deals. Next slide, please. Well, we were supposed to meet in this fantastic city of Doha, but unfortunately not this year, or not last year, I would say. Instead, we all had to stay at home. Next slide, please. In many cases, this home is a beautiful, historic city. In some cases, we were just broadcasting from our bedrooms or living rooms or kitchens even sometimes. Well, but this is actually what we had to deal with. I just hope that this kind of example of the pre-oil city will be a blueprint for the post-oil city, and it seems it might be the case and one of the key takeaway from the Congress as such. But also, besides besides going for this unusual theme, we were also experiencing the entire new format of the Congress. Next slide, please. And this next format is associated with partnership and co-hosting with a number of the different organizations and partners. I'd like to say a big thank you to UN Habitat, which was the main partner for us. The same about Urban Economy Forum. It's the first time we worked together, but I think that this was extremely rewarding and promising also for the future. I'd like to say a big thank you for our colleagues from Urban Economy Forum as well. But also we were partnering with other organizations, and we had many colleagues from both GPN and from ESOP, which are the Association of Planning Schools, both global and European respectively, who have been working with us. Next slide, please. But also what is interesting about this Congress is that it has been completely different from that what we know from before. It was first of all fully virtual, which we all know. Secondly, we had 11 days of Congress altogether. We never had such a long Congress, over 4 months. So it really took quite a ride to deliver that. I can only tell you that we have been meeting with Frank and Nian every week. So we basically already feel like home, when seeing, our colleagues in the computer screens. Also, we have received a record amount of abstracts, despite all the COVID situation. It was 545 abstracts, 545. And the number of registrations, despite all, again, harsh situation, was also quite large, which was 290. Of course, it's nothing close to the real life Congress, but having this huge amount of the registration is a very promising sign for the future, that the virtual format, once it is well prepared, can actually make the job and can actually be an interesting venue for each and every one of us. Also, a number of sessions and papers have been finally submitted. Many of the papers were delayed till the proper Doha Congress, which is next year, or actually this year. And also what is also different is that we actually had this grand opening on World Town Planning Date. this new format, of course, was extremely troublesome at the very beginning. We all had to learn how to deal with that. But on the other hand, we very quickly realized that this new format allows participation of colleagues representing very different locations, including colleagues whom we have never seen in person. And this is extremely, extremely important, that going virtual actually opens the opportunities to participate in the Congress and being part of the planning debate for the communities and for the colleagues who would never be able to do this otherwise. Next slide, please. Also, what is very important is that we, this time, it's the second time in our life, so to speak, of ISOCARP congresses, we have the Congress Declaration. But this time, this is not a document which has been cooked quite quickly, but this time we have made a document which has been cooked well in before the Congress, when all the Congress delegates had a chance to interact with the editors of this paper. And in result, we had a chance to actually be co-authors of the whole thing. So I guess this actually, this document has been widely spread already, and we will have another presentation of that later on today, which is, I think, very important. But on top of that, what is even more important, next slide, please, is that we had a chance to work in numerous groups and subgroups, as I said, including very different realities of our backgrounds and with different times of the day and night. And next, please. Next slide, please. But also we had actually the fantastic opportunity to mingle in this computer game looking like virtual meeting place, which is called GovernTown. It is probably the first time ever for many of us to realize that there is actually some use of the computer game, and that in the end we can use it for the purpose of making a professional meeting. And we just felt like in the lobby of the nice hotel or Congress Center, or just in the street, which we used to do during our regular congresses. Next slide, please. Well, what is important is the Congress theme. And actually, this is the postal city again, planning for urban green deals. What is very important is that actually we are always in ISOCARP trying to think ahead. But this time we realized that we need to think in terms of being more health resilient, as we are primarily urban species. We are living in cities, we love cities, we deal with cities. So we have to realize how to make these cities healthy. Of course, the term of making city healthy this year was, I'm sorry, can you come back to that? Somebody is, yes, thank you. So basically, we have to realize that, of course, in this year and last year, the healthy city means something little different to that what we conceptualized when we were working on the first Congress outline. But I think one doesn't exclude another, and this is very, very important. And this reducing of the environmental concerns and mitigating the processes of anthropogenic climate change is still valid. And I would say it's even more valid these days than it was before, even despite the fact that the CO2 emission is a bit lower than it used to be 2 years ago. Also, what is very important is that this topic provokes for developing new approaches to urban planning, but also we have to understand that a number of different efforts have to be stepped and scaled up in this decade of action, also to implement the Sustainable Development Goals. So basically, this partnership with UN Habitat is making us even stronger in that case. Next slide, please. And of course, we don't know what will be the future of our cities. I mean, I put the slide especially for our dear friend Diru Tadani, who loved this place. But I have to say that this is only one of the options. I mean, not all of us will be actually living in this kind of the places, and we have to realize that there may be different realities. Next slide, please. But also what is interesting about that is that we are not only looking at these beautiful places, but we are looking at the reshaping of the overall city structure. We are looking at the redistribution of uses. We are rethinking the transport system. We are dealing with greening urban structures and provision of the people-oriented design solutions. And these actually provoke also considerations about the nature of economic development and a lot of the different changes which we face in our cities. Next slide, please. So we actually think quite frequently about places like that, which have been busy streets and now are places for people. The question is whether this is the viable model for each and every one of us. I mean, it's a picture from Poland, from Łódź, but I think that, this is one of the options which actually we can have in mind when discussing that. But again, the question, is it a viable option for each and every of the spaces? Next picture, please. Next slide, please. So basically, what is important is that, as we discussed already during the previous panel, achieving that is only possible when we have the place-specific or site-specific plan, which can be generically referred to as we discussed, Urban Green Deal. And of course, these plans have to contain ideas which help to understand the problems locally, which help to recognize the problem solutions, the local problem solutions, and also to identify local ways to implementing changes. So this is why the main purpose of this Congress was revolving around that. And why are we doing that? Well, I think we all want to avoid that what we can see in some predictions regarding the future. Next slide, please. I think we all like watching Blade Runner movies, but I'm not entirely sure whether we want to live, I mean, like really live in this kind of cyberpunk type of environment. Next slide, please. So we have been working on a number of the different topics, and we had fantastic team which have been working with us. So just let me refer to 7 tracks. And here you can see all the names of the people. Each of them will be speaking shortly in a few minutes on the video, so I'm not gonna name all of them. But I would like to say again, big thank you to all of those people. Next slide, please. And actually here we have, sorry, can we come back one slide? Yeah, here you can see the faces of each and every one. So actually you will probably recognize them in the video in a minute. Next slide, please. And next one, yes, okay. And yeah, and actually within that, as you can see, we do have 7 tracks and a special track. And I think that all these topics were actually revolving around very different issues, which help in understanding what the urban green deals can be about and what kind of issues could be discussed within those. So next slide, please. So what were the program highlights? First of all, I have to say that we had a very unusual and exceptional opportunity to host our colleagues from UN Habitat and from Urban Economy Forum, and within our Congress. I think it was the first time ever when we actually could have those higher profile representatives of both organizations with us. Next slide, please. And as you can see, we were listening to a number of the different colleagues and delegates representing very different parts of the world. And this was also a good opportunity to interact almost in the real life realities with all these colleagues. Next slide, please. Then we had the keynote presentations, and just aside from 3 or 4 of them, which we had normally, this time we had the fantastic opportunity to listen to a number of the different interventions on, again, very different topics. So this was very much, I would say, richer than many of the previous congresses. So all the problems, I would say, with the virtual Congress actually proved to be the benefit for our society, for each and every one of us, as we could benefit from many more of the interventions than normally. So basically, we were speaking about the post-oil city paradigm, about urban green deals, prospect for global climate action, about, again, planning for urban green deals by 2 months. Next slide, please. And we could actually experience the very different positions, the very different points of view. Next slide, please. And within that, we actually could also enjoy interventions from our colleagues representing very different stakeholders. including the non-governmental organizations like Kamila Wien, including the intergovernmental panel by Luczka Bogataj, by the academia, and I would say NGO representatives like Peter Prastrik, like Cliff Hague, and also by the local governments like Tom Mills just yesterday and today. Next slide, please. So this is how we did. So we were actually looking at the very different issues, and we could discuss all these over the time, as I said, of over almost 11 days. Next slide, please. And also what was very different this Congress from the previous one is that we actually had a number of the forums and special sessions. This is something which has never been present to that extent in our Congresses, but I think it proved that it's actually important to partner with a number of the different stakeholders and deliver a kind of special sessions on a number of the different things. What we missed this year is actually the planning practice session, but we want to focus more on that. I think it's extremely important to have that. But this is something which we take for the future, and I sincerely hope that the Doha Congress will be also rich with the planning practice sessions, and that we will also actually discuss all these aspects. But besides that, we had the very different approaches dealt with. I mean, like urban regeneration, how to deal with that, how to make urban policy, how to deal with the digital infrastructure, how to deal with education, how to deal with climate action, how to deal with urban health, how to deal with inclusive placemaking, how to deal with the planning exchange, how to deal with the smart city, how to deal with climate action, and finally, how to deal with governance. I mean, all these aspects, of course, do not include all the issues, but I think we covered quite a lot of the specialized topics and specialized subjects on that. Next slide, please. So we had this opportunity, and I think we have hours of recordings from that. If in case anybody would be interested in coming back to that, I think these are all available. Next slide, please. But also what is very important, besides the fact that we did not meet in person, we have managed to launch the ISOCARP Review 16. This year, it is a slightly different name for that, which is Review of the World Planning Practice. This was very skillfully shaped by Małgorzata Hansel and Mahak Agrawal and Jim Riley and the entire editorial team who managed to cook this whole publication together. But also we have managed to have our ISOCARP awards. Here are just pictures from the projects, from some of the projects which actually were awarded. And I'm very happy to say that many of our colleagues, many of our friends have contributed both to either the publication or to the awards with their practical work. I think it's extremely important to learn from each other. So I do recommend coming back to these things later on, just to see how these things are being dealt with. Next slide, please. So what are the key takeaways? First of all, we have to realize that the urban Green Deals are reality. And today's panel was the best evidence for that. We are all part of these. We just have to understand how this can be shaped and how to actually learn from each other, but at the same time, how to make it individually something which fits our communities, our cities, and our local preconditions. So there are no blueprints, which is another thing. It's very, very important takeaway. And each of the community has to invent this issue on their own. There are various aspects which have to be taken into consideration. I just mentioned a couple of them here, but I think there's many, many more, and we cannot restrict ourselves to that. We also need to learn from the global practice, but we have to understand that we are not only learning from the global north, but we can also learn, and we should learn, from the global south. We should understand what are the solutions and practices which are delivered in very different countries, and we should really understand that each of the country and each of the community can be a perfect source of inspiration for us. In example, this year we had a very unusual experience to listened to the mayor of one of the cities in Gambia, which was absolutely amazing and fantastic experience. I think we all learned a lot from that. So just to give you one of the examples of that, what we did. But also what is very important is that we have to deal with we have to invent the new planners, and we have to invent the people who will be able to deal with that. So we need to partner with the education sector. We need to partner with our colleagues from that. And to make all of that happen, we have to stay friends. And as Martina Uvara said, we have to dance in the streets again together. I hope we will be able to dance in the streets all together. But before we do that, let me refer to one more slide, which is a slide from my home city. We have winter actually over there. But I do hope that once the winter goes away, we will be able to dance in this beautiful environment. We will be able to make friends again, and we will be able to be part of the one big ISOCARP family, which I personally wish and I personally hope for that this is gonna happen pretty soon. So let me now refer to the messages from the track. So if we can start playing the video, I would appreciate that. But before we start doing that, I have to say that this video was crafted in order to deliver the track messages in a very comprehensive message. And also, I hope that this video can be shared with the wide audience to actually disseminate in the very brief and I think quite attractive way the results of the Congress. So if I may ask to start for the video, please.
Hello everyone, I'm Matej Nikšić from Slovenia, and together with my colleague Nimin Dong from China, we chaired the track 1, which was about urban metabolism. The track was organized in 2 sessions. Session 1 addressed the spatial and functional reorganization of the city that is needed for a more sustainable exchange of goods and energy, while Session 2 addressed the issues of the new governance and management models that are needed to support this change. We received 43 abstracts in total, out of which 12 authors presented their contributions within the online sessions. The presenters came from all around the globe. Let me name the countries: from the USA, Egypt, Nigeria, Spain, Belgium, Germany, Russia, Qatar, India, and China. What are the main takeaways from our track? More research is needed for the better understanding of the urban metabolism itself and how it relates to population, resource availability, and environmental carrying capacity. Based on this understanding, the urban sustainability policies and governance models must be challenged. And this must not exclude opening some difficult questions too, such as questioning the existing mainstream economic models that clearly are not the proper basis for the truly sustainable future. At the very end, I would like to thank on the behalf of the track chairs to all the presenters that contributed, and we are already looking forward to our future encounters. Goodbye.
Welcome to Track 2, Ensuring the Economic Diversity and Resilience. My name is Lauren Gonzalez. I'm with the United States. I, along with Dr. Hanna Obrock-Podanska from Poland, will be facilitating and leading the discussions of this track. We will explore the framework plans and strategies that guide local economic investments in response to global economic trends. The number of topics covered are circulatory economy, regeneration approach, and spatial factors, green economy, tourism versus environmental justice, financial policies and strategies, structural flexibility, database process, and data-driven decisions. We have 2 sessions to our track. The first session focuses on urban policies and models enhancing economic circulatory. Session 2 will focus on territorial-oriented evaluation and definition of transformation needs. We have a great variety of case studies and research papers that cover a number of countries, as you can see in the slide. And Hannah will now address the presentation, discussions, and key takeaways from our track. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Hanna Abra-Franziska. Together with Lorraine Gonzalez, we've been chairing Track 2, which brought diverse topics as a base for an interactive and engaging discussion. Our speakers presented the challenges and possibilities of the implementation of circular economy. By reviewing different cases of smart sustainable models, they formulated recommendations of practical nature to guide urban economy and introduce planning solutions applicable in the post-oil urbanism. As the cities today need economic diversity to diminish development disproportions, our speakers emphasized the role of sharing and green economy, but also regenerative approach to enhance the implementation of ecotown concepts and shaping compact urban structures. The discussion has proven the need of knowledge-based models for the smart policies implementation. Our cities call for data-driven planning responding urban dynamics. More importantly, in terms of climate changes and evolving urban processes, there is an urgent need for real-time monitoring, which can ensure urban resilience and economic diversity.
Hello, my name is Serin Jambazu from Romania, and together with Professor Alexander Antonov from Russia, we chaired Track 3 Planning for Urban Connectivity. The track included 2 sessions and 1 special session, and we redefined urban connectivity from network planning to local design, and we discussed about new tools to tackle urban mobility in a smarter, greener, and more efficient way. Changes in travel behavior patterns caused by COVID-19 crisis in different countries were also considered. And in our special session, East-West Mobility Urban Dialogue, we focused especially on cities' response to COVID-19 and to the current urban mobility revolution. Solutions such as autonomous vehicles, intermodal public transit, also transport-oriented development or human-oriented land use policies, and models such as 15-minute city concept were also harshly debated under geographical context of the participants.
24 papers were presented. Authors from 9 countries represent 4 continents: Asia, Europe, North America, and Africa. The main lesson learned from the sessions: everything will change about mobility. Achieving a sustainable transport is not a myth, and the following 5-10 years will be crucial in terms of our choices as planners, authority representatives, and citizens. We have now a variety of new tools and developing technologies like personal mobility vehicles, autonomous vehicles, or intermodal public transit systems, and so forth. The need is for integrated approach, the best mix of tools relevant for the uniqueness of every city. We would like to discuss more in order to plan better connected cities, to plan new networks, facilities relevant to rapidly changing transportation technologies.
My name is Pedro Garcia, and I'm the co-moderator with Elizabeth Reynolds of the ISOCARP Congress 2020.
In Track 4, we had discussions around urban resilience, which felt especially critical this year, as the ongoing threat of climate change is compounded by COVID-19. Planners have an important role to play in lifting communities out of these and other risks.
We had speakers from many different countries approaching a variety of issues. With that, we were able to note several approaches. Researchers can have a key role and can trigger the combination of knowledge from many different people that will allow effective responses to climate challenges. It is most important to promote the use of sustainable and cost-efficient materials.
Cities need not only to be engines of growth, but also supportive of human and environmental health, and this can be improved through people-centric placemaking.
By learning from historical events, landscapes, and data, and sharing experiences with global neighbors, it becomes easier to anticipate and mitigate risks.
So, With hard work and international cooperation, we look forward to a safe and more sustainable 2021 and beyond.
Hello everyone, I am Laura Verdelli and I co-chaired, together with Eric Ubrecht and Stefan Nesch, the track number 5, focusing on heritage and smart culture. We started from the observation that culture and heritage are still too often under-evaluated in urban redevelopment processes, and that in an evolutive and changing society, theories, trends, fashion, political wills, as well as perception and representation can have an influence on the acceptance of a legacy as part of our common history.
Track 5 was a very exciting moment during the World Planning Congress. What lessons from researchers and professionals can be taken from the field of heritage to make cities more inclusive, resilient, and sustainable? The shared culture is the smartest way to rethink city for the post-oil era.
Out of the 32 accepted abstracts, unfortunately only 16 were able to show up, and we organized 2 sessions on smart research on urban heritage and on smart urban heritage projects. We deliberately chose to confront very contrasted examples from very different cultural and geographical contexts, and thinking on a post-oil society, we wondered what if heritage was already sustainable. From the different representation, we learned that heritage do not only need conservation and restoration, but also to be considered as a resource and an asset for the future. It needs to be conveniently enhanced through imaginability, visibility, and readability, and that its place in our imaginary as well collective as individual is to be built through action and participation. Thank you.
The way we plan and build our cities affect our health and well-being. Healthy and inclusive urban environment was the topic of track 6. 2020 is a crucial decade for planning to enable the intertwined health of people and planet. COVID, as we know, acted as, and is still acting, as a stress test on our urban systems, urban places and communities. So we need bold change, and this is an opportunity to aim for a healthier and more equitable future. And this theme resonated with planners. Our parallel sessions featured more than 40 case study and paper presentations, representing all continents, 15 plus countries, and more than 25 cities and regions. They discussed urban morphology and health impact, urban nature and health resilience, sidewalks as protagonists, schools as key actors for healthy neighborhoods. But speakers also looked through the lens of the very young, the slum dwellers, the elderly and transgender, and presented innovative tools as board games and storytelling to engage the underrepresented. And there's also new confidence, evidence and new emerging needs, and how spatial open data can support healthy city responses. How can health be an input and an outcome to urban planning? And what does that mean for our neighborhoods and regions? Our Urban Health Forum addressed these questions and offered training on integrating health in urban and territorial planning. And this happened in cooperation with the Community of Practice on Urban Health ISOCARP, UN Habitat and WHO. Track 6 also offered a special session on COVID with the UN Habitat Global Report on Cities and Pandemics and a thought-provoking, passionate debate with international experts and women leaders. The more than 2-hour live stream session is still available on YouTube for you. So some of the key messages that came out. Density was not a deciding factor in increased infections, and there's often confusion between density and overcrowding. But what we need to do is to plan for well-designed urban density and support infrastructure. Harnessing the power of technology and data is critical for an inclusive and a resilient recovery. Anuela Ristani, the deputy mayor of Tirana, points out that cities have been designed for the active male. So now we need to take different profiles and needs into account, which will make cities more democratic, but more resilient to crisis. For Gertrude Chirambo, the president of the Malawi Network of Women Leaders, it's key to provide access to basic services for all in all settlements, rural and urban, and take a holistic approach. And for Stefan Bueri, Italian architect and all well known to you, COVID is linked to climate change, and he gave 9 ideas for the future, from establishing planetary green corridors to reclaiming public space to the 5th facade and making interior space more fluid. And what are some of the lessons from our parallel sessions?
Every city is different than others. So their requirement, their basic necessities, their aspiration are also different. We need to reach the point of basics of healthy and inclusive urbanism in the reach of every inhabitant of city. As a result of a post-COVID urbanism, urban spaces are more particularly cities, neighborhood and health infrastructure need major reform. There are innovative ways of regenerating and adaptive reuse of natural resources in our cities to meet the present need, and it should be redesigned according to a requirement of today, but its basic essence and beauty should not be compromised. Integration of health, ecology, sustainable environment are utmost important consideration to include in the policy of urban reform. Urban resiliency and disaster response need serious consideration in future planning of cities. Urban neighborhoods which have positive provision for elderly, senior citizens, differently able people, children are very important aspect of healthy cities. In the context of present age of technology and data, there are immense possibility of using data and technology for future urbanism and our cities to be healthy and safe. There is a strong need of engagement of policymakers, global institutions and experts with citizens to reach innovative and inclusive urbanism. Thank you all. Namaste.
Dear ISOCARP members, I am Pedro Ortiz. I have been sharing together with Olga Chipenslianska session 7 about livable cities. We had 3 sessions about how to manage those livable places, livable cities. The first one was about the inclusiveness, the necessary, the required inclusiveness of those places. The second one was about the tools and practices. And the third one has been a forum that was about the way forward, the past and present of those livable places with a relevant approach to scales and to metropolitan management and planning, which is new in the history of town planning and management of livable places. The contributions have been absolutely excellent. Mainly, we had a large contingent from China, but we had people as well from Qatar, Bahrain, and New Zealand, and from India. There was time for discussion, so we were able not just to listen to the presenters, but we were able to discuss and to present new forms of integration and production of those livable cities. And I must say that the main takeaways of those discussions have been that we have to find new ways of understanding livable cities, new parameters that will be able to track down and then to manage and to implement that livable capacity. And we are dealing, obviously, not only about the quality of those livable places, but as well as the connotative symbolism, the empathy of those places with the user, the owner, which is the general population, obviously. And that general population has to participate in the building of those places to represent their own system of values. The inclusiveness of those places and the efficiency and sustainability. We cannot only look for the social elements, we have to look as well for the economic and the environmental elements of that livability. And the new scales. We are building up a new dimension, a new scale, and a new governance way of dealing with our urban spaces, which belong to all of us, and not just to those that produce them. So those have been the results, and I think they are extremely thriving and interesting. And even if this Congress, this virtual Congress has been a great success, and we must congratulate ISOCARP for this new way of building this network of all of us. We look forward to see each other present in the Congress of 2021, and to meet again physically and to continue these discussions for the best of the future. Thank you very much.
Hello everyone, my name is François Vienne. I'm an urban planner based in Singapore, and I've had the pleasure to chair the special track session Future of Hot Cities along with my colleague Nassim Ilwanmanesh from Iran.
Will moderate the special track which has been titled The Future of Hot Cities, dealing with grounded issues regarding planning methods of urban solution in arid regions of the world from Southeast Asia, India, Iran to Egypt.
During the special track session, we had first a chance to listen to the key outcomes from UN Habitat, who delivered lessons learned from Future of Saudi Cities program with a strong focus on action-oriented and evidence-based conclusion to diagnose the strengths and weaknesses of the planning system and local planning practice in each city. This session has helped introducing some of the main challenges in hot cities, the relation between urban development and energy, the urban development in the context of water scarcity, and the role of public spaces in hot cities. Indeed, across multiple geographies, experts from Southeast Asia to North Africa have helped to give analytical tools to better understand key approaches to tackle arid climate situations, either from a public policy perspective and guidelines to drive decision-making at multiple scales in order to synergize efforts among stakeholders, either dealing with architectural and urban morphologies and integrate natural assets in the city shape and climate-sensitive strategies, either using water as a key resource to leverage on and integrate into the city making rather than a potential threat and problem to solve and to manage. In that regard, we can mention Wadi design in Egypt or the importance of public spaces in the context of India. With this handful of expertise thinking pieces, the session enabled to identify key issues related to arid climate in hot cities, and we hope both audience from professional to academics, students and public sectors could take away some of the best practices and lessons learned from our guest panel, and we hope to conduct other set of ISOCARP Roundtable with you in the near future.
Our warmest regards.
Well, thank you so much. Can we ask each and everyone to turn the camera on, and we can take the Congress team group picture. So please say hello, smile, and let's look great. If I can ask Anna and Jan to take the Congress team group picture, please tell us when, tell us how to deal with that.
Yes. Is all Congress team members with open cameras? Yes, I see them. Okay, 3, 2, 1, go. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you so much, team. Excellent group work. Once again, thank you all. I'm gonna say big thank you at the very end of the entire thing. But before we do that, we still have a couple of items to cover. And as I was informed that our colleague from UN Habitat is in the time rush. So if Christine Knudsen is still with us, can we ask Christine right now to take over, and the Congress Declaration and other items will be covered afterwards. So Christine, if you're with us, floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me well, just to confirm?
Yes, please.
Excellent. I'm so happy. Thank you very much, Piotr. And colleagues, thank you very much for this very rich Congress. And it is a great honor to be here with you today and sharing with you greetings from our Executive Director, Maimouna Modsharif. It has been a very rich period. I think we can all attest to that. And just listening to the feedback from the tracks has been quite impressive. I think that as you had started off noting that this is the first time that the Congress has gone to a virtual format, and I really do want to commend you on this approach. And it has really shown us how we can create innovative solutions to unexpected challenges, to global issues, and really think that this has been a proven success. And over the last 4 months, we've seen ISOCARP go through the Congress successfully bringing together experts, city representatives, civil society, academia, different countries in what I can only say has been a very high quality dialogue. The Congress was an important opportunity for the sharpening of our collective understanding and successfully, I think, continues the tradition of the annual Congress in a new format, in a new adventure, if we will, and despite the obvious challenges, has brought about a great success through the pandemic period. The Collaborative Congress Declaration, which we'll be hearing in its final format quite soon, is an example of how joint efforts are deeply powerful. Nations and cities across the world fighting the same battle and working towards shared prosperity together. UN Habitat, and just to introduce myself, perhaps I should have started with that, as the Director of External Relations Strategy, Knowledge and Innovation. With my colleagues, we join this call to national and local governments, other stakeholders to collaborate and promote sustainability for inclusive urbanization. I'm sorry, I was just interrupted asking to start my video, but I am in a situation where I have almost no bandwidth, so I do apologize not being able to share video with you today. To get back to the declaration, really looking for all professionals in the areas of urban and regional planning, it is critical for us to play a key role in informing and supporting decision-making towards a better urban future. Somebody was trying to come in?
Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay, I heard somebody coming in. I hadn't quite concluded, but I thought I'd been called to order. Thank you. Just to continue on, and just with a few more comments, I think this collective effort is so important today to join our efforts to this challenge and to the solutions, which are greater by all means than any one actor. Now, as 2021 begins, it is beginning the last decade of the 2030 agenda in an unprecedented crisis of COVID. The climate change issues have never been felt more severely anywhere. Floods, heat, droughts, landslides, coastal erosion, inundation are part of our daily news cycle and especially bringing impact to the most vulnerable. It's especially important now to be accountable for our decision making, and I do stress the word accountable, to ensure that all have the right to healthy and sustainable environment. COVID has shown a stark headlight on this more than ever before, and the challenges that we face together. We must now recover for a greener, pro-poor climate with actions to promote resilience and equal opportunities for all. This obviously requires a participatory approach and a holistic angle that we must take to multilateral and multidimensional collaboration in a meaningful way. Community-based actions, local strategies are essential to promote effective and demand-driven solutions and change. National and regional planning instruments should be created to guide these strategies in a common direction through an integrated development framework. Now, UN Habitat recognizes the role of the planning professionals to ensure that we all align in the short-term and long-term strategies with the global 2030 agenda, Paris Climate Agreement, New Urban Agenda, and the Sendai framework. Although we are working at different scales in different manners, we are working in a complementary fashion with different disciplines. Planners can support a Green New Deal and address complex demands. UN Habitat is extremely keen that all can contribute fully to localization of the SDGs and the sustainable development of cities and communities. We're committed to reinforce consultative and collaborative mechanisms such as this, such as our Strategic Advisory Group and the Habitat Professionals Forum. To build back better requires not only professional expertise and government action, but engagement from everyone. A whole of society approach and partnership is necessary and essential to achieve these goals together. UN Habitat and ISOCARP is a fantastic example of good collaboration and with great recognition for the efforts that have been put into this Congress and to ongoing collaboration and partnership. Since 2010, we've been developing guidelines and tools, technical assistance and advisory work, scaling up governance, advocacy, innovation, promoting capacity building, trainings, and research to accelerate sustainable development together. The declaration really places front and center emphasis on this kind of collaboration. Partnerships such as this one have been renewed, and with UN Habitat and ISOCARP at the end of 2020, we've been developing a joint work plan with innovative actions to address the new challenges and ensure acceleration towards the SDG implementation. This declaration already outlines key elements of this new collaboration phase. Just to close, I'd like to fully recognize the efforts of ISOCARP for organizing this rich Congress on the Urban Green Deal, and thank you for inviting UN Habitat as a co-host. I'd also very much like to commend the Congress team and the work that has been put into this over this entire period, and recognize my fellow UN Habitat colleagues who have been fully engaged and I hope have been working to great effect with all of you. The past months have really highlighted solutions to make the transition to post-oil cities. We've learned that for it to be equitable, it must promote participation, decarbonization, sustainable systems, and integrative policy interventions. We now have the opportunity to translate these ideas into actions, and I urge all of us to recommit to this approach of translating goals into actions to address the long-term determinants of environment, social inclusion, health, and consider how we can embed these urban green deals into planning of cities for a future better urban quality and equality in this decade of action. With that, let me just thank you again for all of your efforts, for your commitment, and for the actions going forward from today's session with great appreciation from UN Habitat. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Christine. Much appreciated. We are sorry we could not see you, but we do understand the technical issues and difficulties, but it was really great. We could actually hear you at least well and clearly without any problems. Also, I'd like to thank very much UN Habitat again for your entire involvement of the entire organization, many different people, as Christine mentioned in the course of the entire Congress. It was absolutely amazing and I think rewarding for both partners, so to speak. Okay, so let me come back to our regular program, and as we just finished with the summary of the Congress results, I'd like to thank again all the track leaders. Also, I'd like to thank Hope for bearing with me. You know, Hope, I'm not easy to deal with or to be dealt with, but thank you very much you did that. And also, I would like to send, from the bottom of my heart, a token of appreciation for all the Congress team members who devoted a lot of time and a lot of effort, and even sitting at night or early morning or drinking too much coffee and so on, just to survive with our timing. But now it's time to move to the next item. Hope, floor is yours.
Okay. Thank you very much, Piotr, and thank you very much to all the tracks, rapporteurs, and I really enjoyed working with them. I think apart from special sessions that we have, paper presented, and of course roundtables, we also have prepared declaration as already noted. And I think we are going into that item now, and where Dusko will be presenting that.
Okay, thank you. So this will be presented by Dusko Bogunovic and I think also with the participation of the scientific committee, which is being managed by Kate Holmquist. And this was actually an interesting story because it was the first time ever we had the participatory process in ISOCARP for working on the Congress declaration. The first draft was prepared by the ISOCARP Scientific Committee. So let me invite Dusko Bogunovic, who is the chair of the ISOCARP Scientific Committee, to deal with it. I know, Dusko, it's late night in New Zealand, but I hope we can still survive.
No, Piotr, it's not late night, it's early morning.
Well, depending on the definition, it all depends on the definition.
Good morning, all from Auckland, New Zealand. I'm speaking to you from the future. It's already the 5th of February. in New Zealand, and it's almost 4 o'clock in the morning. You might be wondering whether people in New Zealand sleep at all. Yes, we do, but sometimes when important events take place, then we don't. So I have the honor of presenting to you the Congress Declaration. It is an unusual document. This year, as Piotr said, we had 4 months to include comments and participation from several authors, co-authors, drafters, commentators, and so on and on. So it has been a very kind of democratic process this time. The document itself, I'll describe the format. It has more than 1,000 words. It's a 4 pages document. It consists, and of course, I'm not going to read it to you. It has 2 parts. There is a preamble, about 2 pages, and then the other 2 pages are the declaration proper itself. The preamble has 3 parts. The first part addresses the unusual or strange events of 2020 and how we got to hold an online Congress over 4 months. Then it talks about the World Planning Congress and why these congresses always address actually the same issue, which is global urbanization. And then lastly, it actually defines itself, the declaration, and gives the credit to the principal authors. So at the end of the preamble, we have the statement that the declaration is actually, the declaration is a statement of shared values and collectively identified opportunities for transformative action. The preamble finishes by saying that the Congress Declaration has been jointly prepared by the International Society of City and Regional Planners and the participants and honored co-hosts, the Urban Economy Forum and UN Habitat. So that's the preamble. Moving on to the declaration itself, I've selected 6 highlights of this document. It talks first about, or endorses rather, a science-based approach. We call upon all national, regional, and local governments to collaborate and promote urban and other place-based research and knowledge sharing to advance global sustainable urbanization and territorial cohesion goals through science-based policy and data-driven planning. The second point I want to highlight is the territorial approach. We ask to civilians by promoting place-based policy responses to accelerate efforts to mitigate climate change and to more effectively adapt to its localized impacts. A territorial approach allows decision makers to incorporate context-specific climate change drivers and impacts and the cities are the end prosperity, opportunity, and a better quality of life for all people and their nations. The planning and allied professions should advocate for the implementation of the International Guidelines on Urban and Territorial Planning, IGUTP, and its 12 key planning principles. That was the second point I wanted to highlight. The third point is about an activist approach. It is important to consider our responsibility for advocacy and for holding governments accountable when they ignore inclusion, transparency, equity, data, or science. The fourth point is about inclusion, an inclusive or participatory approach. We call for a sufficient funding of planning institutions and for capacity building for all stakeholders and for inclusive planning practices that embrace indigenous and local knowledge. This will be required to respond to multiple crises and to build back better and greener requires not only planning expertise from national and local governments, civil society and academia, but must include all communities and local stakeholders. The fifth point I want to highlight is about the public space, the importance of public space. to achieve greater climate resilience, sustainable mobility, pandemic resilience, and social justice outcomes. The post-oil era brings great opportunity for urban public spaces to play a strategic and pivotal role for an integrated approach to equitable and sustainable formal and informal urbanization. Finally, the declaration ends with this paragraph with a pretty strong wording of what this Congress was about. More than any time in history, the problems facing our planet are dire and require definitive, urgent, and collaborative planning action. Planners are uniquely positioned to lead communities in this work, and we call upon city, regional, and national governments, as well as international institutions and organizations, to deliberately and persistently facilitate the engagement of planners and placemakers, and to adapt urban and territorial planning to adopt urban and territorial planning as a key tool for conceiving and implementing sustainable development goals towards achieving stable recovery and shared prosperity in harmony with our natural environment. These are the final lines of our declaration. Thank you for this opportunity to present these important documents to the delegates and our co-hosts.
Thank you very much, Dushko, for work well done. The presentation and the process itself was well articulated, and I understand the declaration is now available online. I think the link can be provided as we go along, and we really appreciate the effort from everyone else. And I'm sure we're all going to take time to look at it and see how we play our part going forward. And I will then ask Piotr to introduce the next item.
Well, thank you so much. We have been already listening to the closing remarks by Christine. Now let me invite another representative of our partners in organization, which is chair of the Urban Economy Forum, Mr. Reza Purvasiri. So Reza, I hope you are with us. Please take the floor.
Yes, I am. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good evening. I appreciate all the participants, speakers, academic, placemakers, and barefoot planners for the wonderful participations and effort to come together for our future collectively. We all being to one movement, one party, we are all fighting together for a better world and a better future. Urban Economy Forum is honored to co-host such a great, extraordinary, productive, and informative conference, the ISOCARP 56th World Planning Congress. At the opening session, I mentioned that I hope we would learn new ideas from each other, which we could adopt to further improve. Sorry?
No, please continue. It's okay.
Further improve our work, especially in this new era shifting away from oil dependency. I know that there have been many interesting and useful presentations from all over the world during the Congress, but in the plenary and in the interactive sessions, I believe many good experiences have been shared and many good lessons learned. As urban practitioners and activists, we must consider the importance of being flexible in our collaboration. We all appreciate ISOCARP for creating such a fantastic momentum for this valuable collaboration to enrich our knowledge. I was grateful that I was able to participate in many of the ISOCARP sessions over the last months, witnessing ISOCARP leadership with an efficient virtual conference and their continuous engagement of the community to make this global interaction possible. I would like to especially thank Frank Dohnat and the Secretariat for their tireless work in making this Congress a great success despite extraordinary circumstances. It was also great to see so many young planners share innovative and creative solutions and the best practices during this global platform. From Urban Economy Forum's perspective, we are trying to better understand the transformative role planning can play in urban economics and sustainable urban resources. We encourage city leaders, urban planners, academic and financial institutions to participate in and create a practical dialogue about urban resources. It's imperative that we collectively focus on how to generate new resources and interpret what new resources means from a multidisciplinary perspective. It's very clear that all of us are trying to answer these questions in a world that is trying to shift away from unsustainable practices. With the current COVID-19 global challenge, we are faced with an unwritten demand from the world community to change many aspects of our lifestyle. UEF believes that cities in form, concept, and function provide the best opportunity for such a fundamental transformation. It is also important that we cohesively understand what sustainable resources are and what their use means at the local level as well as the global level. As this Congress has shown now more than ever, we are all connected to each other. This pandemic has shown us that the borders have a meaningless role about all scales of planning. It's important to recognize that we all come together, discuss and debate and collectively agreed on a way to move forward. The ISOCARP declaration clearly outlines this shared vision for a better urban future and what is required for this vision. We must all deliver this message to those that make decisions and raise this alternative voice through global consequences such as we are doing here today. However, we must also have practical solutions as well, work to find a way forward. The world needs a comprehensive plan for urbanism, a plan that works for the whole planet, not just a few cities and a few inhabitants. We now have a momentum to come together, think together, analyze together, and most importantly, act together. In support of this effort, UEF has established the Regent Park World Urban Pavilion in collaboration with UN Habitat and Government of Canada. The pavilion will create a global hub for knowledge and practice for sustainable urbanism, as a place where we can all come together to learn, test, and share the most innovative and practical solutions to the most pressing challenges for sustainable urbanism. In this regard, Canada has been a great support for us, and UEF is proud to inform the world that Canada wants to have a pioneering role in achieving the SDGs, specifically urban SDGs, SDG number 11 in particular. We encourage all of you to join us and share your vision and solutions at the pavilion. Any organization is only as forward-looking as its members, and ISOCARP is a great example in this regard. We are proud of our partnership, and we want to amplify and support the work of ISOCARP with a view to eradicate the gross injustice and inequality we see around us in cities, and to create prosperous places and vibrant, diverse communities through the power of planning and planners. We hope to continue enrich our collaboration with ISOCARP as we advance a shared vision for the future. We invite all of you to join the third Urban Economy Forum with the theme Housing at the Core of Urban Recovery, which will be held on October 4th and 5th this year. Only together can we realize a sustainable urban future. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Reza, for your for your summary. It was great to hear that we have already made new friends, so you want more friendships. And I think this one was extremely interesting, as we have been speaking not just about sustainability planning, but actually about the economy of cities, which I think is extremely important as well.
Thank you so much.
Anyway, well, we are coming to an end with this show, but as you know, the show must go on. So in that case, let me refer to Martin and to actually pass the to hand over the totem of the Congress organizer to the next organizer. Martin, please, floor is yours.
Yes, thank you very much. I remember doing this last time when we were on stage in Borobudur Hotel in Jakarta. I now formally hand over this model, this icon of ISOCARP over to Doha and to Ibrahim Abdul, and I sincerely hope that we can cooperate very constructively together in the next weeks and months in order to prepare the Congress. And I give the floor to you now, handing it over virtually to you, to hand it over to introduce the new theme of the next Congress, the 57th ISOCARP World Planning Congress. Here you are. Unmute.
Yes.
Yes, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of His Excellency, the Minister of the Municipality and Environment, I am honored and delighted that we will be hosting the 57th Congress of ISOCARP 2021 in Qatar, specifically in our capital, Doha. The Congress is held only 1 year before Qatar hosts the 2022 World Cup. It is therefore an opportunity for the whole world to see the impressive preparation made by Qatar for this event, to be a unique, particularly from urban planning, sustainability, and livability perspective. We committed to make all the cities of Qatar, especially Doha, a model for environmentally friendly cities through sustainable urban planning. This Congress will be a professional and scientific forum where global planning experiences will be shared at the highest levels of international and regional professional and planning interventions. Qatar is hospitable country with unique history and heritage. Doha considered as one of the safest cities in the world. We have an amazing historical, social, cultural, creative planning experience, which we want all of you to experience during being our welcome guests in Doha. In the end, we all pray that this pandemic, COVID-19, will be over, and see you soon in your second home, Qatar. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ibrahim. It was a great pleasure to see that we will actually have an opportunity to meet in person. I sincerely hope for that. I can say that personally, I'll do absolutely everything necessary to go there. And I know Qatar, I love the place, so I'm more than sure that all the ISOCARP family will make Qatar its second home. So it will be absolutely
great. You are welcome.
Thank you so much for that. And now, since we are in the very end of our Congress, so let me now invite Frank Dont, our Secretary General, to close the Congress and deliver the final message. Frank, floor is yours.
Thank you, Piotr. I hope I am loud and clear. Yes?
You are.
Okay, thank you. Dear Excellencies, colleagues and friends, dancing in the streets of Jakarta, Bodo, Portland, Durban, This was our informal Congress mantra for the past editions of ISOCARP's flagship activity. Until 2020, the year the world changed, at least our urban world. Change for the worse. We could not dance in Doha's new downtown as planned. Change for the better. We reinvented the congregation of the planning community by organizing a fully virtual Congress spread out over 4 months instead of 3 days, culminating in this wonderful closing ceremony. We even engaged in virtual placemaking and dance on the virtual Congress Square of Garretown. Change for the worse. We saw a long anticipated pandemic tearing down our urban economies and social conventions. We see families wondering to stay in or leave their locked down cities. Change for the better. We see a surge in public and political awareness to not let this compounded crisis go to waste. We see new opportunities for post-carbon cities and urban green deals. But can we? Well, I agree with our moderator and ISOCARP ambassador, Shipra, that we can. We can if we join forces, planning professionals together with place leaders, civil society, private developers and academia, the latter one to ensure a science-based transition agenda to a post-oil urban world. On this pessimistic note, I will start closing this 56th World Planning Congress, the first ever entirely virtual and possibly the longest ever planning congress in human history, at least in ISOCARP's history. Calling out all the people and organizations that have contributed to the success of the Congress would take way too long, so I will safely rely on a hopefully complete list of credits. Yes, there we go, like in a movie, yes, so the end is nearing, yes. However, I cannot resist thanking a couple of people and partners in particular. Thank you to the leadership of UN Habitat and Urban Economy Forum as our wonderful co-host, with whom we recently signed new Memorandum of Understandings for long-term active partnership. Thank you, Piotr and Hope, as our masters of ceremony and stewards of a splendid Congress team. Thank you, Narang and Anna from our Secretariat as our virtual backbone, supported by all the other staff members. And finally, thank you to all the Congress participants for your endurance, and hope to see you all back at our next Congress in Doha, 9 to 12 November this year, and hopefully to dance together in the streets of downtown Musharraf. Farewell.
Well, thank you so much. Absolutely great closing words. So before we actually say finally thank you, I would like to ask Nian to play again after we do this final goodbye, to show us again the topic of the next year's Congress. Yes, Frank, maybe you would like to say a couple of words about the next year's Congress and the topic?
Well, I mean, it's really exciting that we recently could agree upon a, I would say, inspiring new Congress topic. As you all know, planning, I mean, post-oil cities was, of course, chosen in the light of being in oil city, Doha, Qatar, the Gulf. So we had to reinvent ourselves, and I think we really have a wonderful follow-up in terms of well, we're not post anymore. We're really thinking about new times, better places, stronger communities, and this under the title Planning Unlocked. Of course, the latter one, the last word with the reference to our locked down situation now. So really looking forward to unpack this in terms of tracks appealing to the global community and tracks appealing to the local community, because we really hope we cross fingers, all cross fingers, that we can make it to be in Doha.
Thank you, and I have to say this was a very group effort to make this topic. And let me refer to Martin, because it was his idea to bring us to this new, promising and optimistic topic. So Martin, if you could comment on that, please, I would very much appreciate to see your smiling face in the end.
I'm so looking forward to a new Congress batch that I can't wait for November to have this Congress. And yes, of course, planning unlocked. It has a double meaning, of course. It is not only that we locked down in this COVID period, but it is also reflects the unlocking of Qatar. When Qatar is opening again, is allowed to open again in the region. So it has a double meaning. And of course, this period of time where we have been in, it also gives us the opportunity to think ahead, to look ahead, to plan, because we as planners are also, say, trend watchers, so to speak. So what are these new times? What are these better places? Well, how can we build stronger communities? These are the topics that we have to focus on. And that is also, I would say, a nice follow-up of this Congress we had in the past month of Post-Oil City for planning for urban Green Deals. Now we're narrowing down, say, on the communities and on the places, public places, on maybe innovations, etc. And maybe that's also will be a bridge towards the Congress, the next Congress, the 58th. That will be somewhere else with perhaps a topic that will relate to this, and it is a follow-up. I must say that my personal experience is that all these topics we had in the past with the congresses were always looking forward. We're always 4 or 5 years ahead of practice, and I truly believe that this topic is what we need right now, and what we will be talking about in the next years. So I congratulate everybody in Qatar, in ISOCARP, and elsewhere with this opportunity. And I very, very, very much look forward to meet all with you in Doha, Qatar. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Martin. So all I can say, Congress team, get ready for tomorrow. We are brainstorming tomorrow about the scope, agenda, and all the other things. No time to spare, so to speak. No, realistically next week, okay?
Thank you very much.
In practice, this is really soon. Thank you very much, Martin. Thank you very much, Frank. Also, big thank you to Qatar, which is represented today by Mr. Ibrahim Abdulrahim. Thank you very much for your kind words of invitation. We feel very honored, and we'll do our best to go there. And now, well, everything which is good has to end at a certain point of time, and this is the moment when we close the entire thing. Thank you again, all the participants, speakers, staff, especially Nian Balamienta, who has to survive with me. Well, 45 minutes delay is not unusual, unfortunately. Sorry, Nian, my fault this time. Anna Klimczak, who also actually made all these fantastic graphics and was helping us with all of that. Federico Aili, who saved our lives with Zoom technology at certain points of time. Cindy Haxia, who also was helping us with all of those things. And finally, Monica Overton, who was patiently overlooking the entire thing from behind her desk, which is also absolutely amazing. So thank you very much. Goodbye to everyone. Turn on your cameras. Making one last group picture for our annals, and see you in November in Doha, hopefully. Thank you so much. Goodbye and good night for those of you who are in New Zealand.
Goodbye. Yes, thank you so much.
Goodbye. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye. Goodbye.
Bye.
Hoşça kalın. Hoşça kalın.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Tot ziens. Tot ziens.
Adios.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.
Goodbye. See you very soon.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam. Alhamdulillah.
Bye.
Thank you, Frank. Thank you.
Bye, Nata. Travel safe.
Thank you. No travels.
That's what I meant. It will be safe.
I know. Wonderful. Thank you, Laura.